Wow. 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 I just finished reading the story of Samson and Delilah. And just wow, man. Born a Narite or Nazarite. Um, I don't know if I'm saying it, pronouncing it correctly. I'm pretty sure I'm not, but um, chosen by God to complete a great mission, blessed with great strength, superhuman strength, the strength and the power of God Himself, right? Um, just a powerful, powerful man, superhuman man. And, the first demonstration of his great strength was when he took out a lion with his bare hands, right? And then from the carcass, he ate honey. There was honey in the carcass, so he took it and he gave it to his parents. And he never told his parents that the honey came from a dead carcass, from a lion's carcass that he had killed with his bare hands. Now, I don't know if he was actually hiding his power from his parents or hiding his strength. I don't know. It doesn't give a reason why he didn't tell them about it, but he didn't tell them about it. So then it goes into how he went out and he started to take out some of the Philistines. And when he came back, his father had given his wife to his companion, which was his best man at his wedding, which is crazy. That's like ultimate betrayal. Never giving a reason for it, but that's what his father had did. So he kept going out and he kept taking out the Philistines, and says that with the jawbone of a donkey, he had taken out 1,000 men. Right. And I'm just keeping it in like a short form, telling you guys in like a short form. So he ends up meeting Delilah after that. And she kept setting him up because the Philistines, well, Delilah was a harlot, right? I wouldn't say promiscuous woman, but maybe a promiscuous woman. Basically, we know the definition of a harlot is, right? A hoe or a whore, as we would use, as people of today would use. Just not a woman with any good moral or anything like that. So, the Philistines, they offer her 100 pieces of silver from each and every one of them. So that it must have been a lot of them. So, she takes the deal. Samson is already dealing with her. He falls in love with her. He's already dealing with her, but she sets him up 3 times. And she kept saying to him, well, you don't love me because you won't tell me the source of your strength, which the Philistines were trying to find out. They were trying to find out where his strength comes from so they can capture him and ultimately kill him. And he kept telling her, right? He kept feeding into it. So he kept telling her, like, yeah, if you tie me up with a rope, then my strength will leave me. So she tied him up. And then when the Philistines came in to get him, he broke free and he killed him. And then he said again, she says, oh, you don't love me because you've made me look like a fool, basically, but you won't tell me, the truth about it. So he says, yeah, if you tie me up with a wet rope, I won't be able to break free and my strength will leave me. So she did that. He broke free and then he killed some more Philistines. So basically she kept repeating the motion, by the 3rd time, she's like, well, again, you really don't love me because you won't tell me the truth about your strength. So then finally, it says that after she basically just kept coming at him about it so much to where like it was like damaging his spirit, you know what I'm saying? Like it was bringing him down. So just to kind of get her off his back about it, he told her his heart. He told her the truth of where his strength comes from, which was in his hair. He had 7 locks. So that means everybody knows what locks are, locked hair is. So it says that his strength was in a razor had never been to his head. That's what he told her. He says, a razor's never been to my head. And if that was to happen, then yeah, I would lose my strength, which was the truth, right? So he finally broke down and he finally told her the truth of how to lose his power. So it says that he fell asleep on her knees, and then she called in a man to cut his hair off, which happened. And then they tied him up. And then he said, well, I'll still break free, from the ropes that they had tied him up in, but it didn't happen. He didn't break free. And then they cut his eyes out, right? Still having him bound. And they made him perform. They used him for things that weren't good. And he was in captivity. He was captured, basically. He was a prisoner, basically. So after that, he cried out to God, and he says, please bless me one last time with that great power so that I may finish the job, and you can let me die along with him, And I think that came from shame, I think that had a lot to do with shame, wanting to die along with its enemies, allowing a woman to get close enough to him to have his strength taken away. And then I thought about the verse in Proverbs where it says, do not give your strength to a woman. That came to my mind right after reading that. Like, man, I remember that verse in Proverbs where it says, don't give your strength to women and your essence to women, right? So I'm like, well, man, like it's a wild story. And I was locked in the whole way through. I was locked in because it was such a powerful story. So at the end of it, what I took from it was the ultimate lesson in that story was to choose wisely, right? Because the wrong woman can cost you, not only financially, not only emotionally and physically, but it can literally cost you your life. That's what I got from that story. A jealous, envious woman, a demon-possessed woman, a narcissistic woman can cost you your life. That's what I took from it. And then I had to think about it, right? I had to think about my own experiences with dating and stuff like that, and choosing low vibrational women and choosing the wrong woman. I'm still paying for some of that stuff now. Like, I'm still financially paying for some of that stuff now, believe it or not. And that was years ago. Things that I could have avoided, I didn't, because I had lustful thinking, right? And in my lustful thinking, which I think was the case with Samson, he had lustful thinking, and then it ultimately cost him his life. Now, would God have allowed him to live? I believe so, but he asked God. He said, let me die with him, and I think it was shame. I think it was shame that he fell to a woman. And that's the case with a lot of great men, because I started reading The Art of Seduction a long time ago, man, back in I think like 20, like the early 2000s, like 05, 06 or something like that, when I was in detention for a little bit of time, and I ended up getting my hands on that book, and I was reading it, the natural and things like that. And I remember reading the story of King Louis, how his whole kingdom fell because he was distracted by a free-spirited woman, and he wasn't able to stay firm and make the right decisions because he just was just caught up in this woman who was just like, who had him just out there, like he just was chasing her down, and then next thing you know, he just wasn't doing the thing. So it all made me think about all these things together, but my own experiences as well. Like I said, choosing low vibrational women, choosing the wrong women, it cost me, man. It cost me. It cost me emotional turmoil. It cost me mental turmoil, not being able to think straight, not having the energy to do the things that I knew that I needed to do. It cost me, man. So I fully understood the lesson in that story. I fully understand it, right? Choose wisely, because it can cost you, young men and even young women as well, because scripture teaches women how to be as well. If you want to be a husband, it teaches you how to be. If you want to be a wife, it teaches you how to be. So choose wisely. I mean, it speaks more to men from what I'm getting, the Bible. It speaks more to men, right? Because men are the covering. Men, he chose men to be the foundation, right? The covering, the backing, right? The pillar in the family, right? So it speaks more to men is what I'm getting, but it speaks to women too, because it's women can take from that too, right? Women have to choose wisely as well, right? Women have to, there's narcissistic men, there's evil men, there are these kind of men out there as well. So both sides of the spectrum have to choose wisely. But me, speaking about me, and what I understood about it in the moment, it's like, man, I have to choose wisely. That's why I'm not doing that. That's why I don't behave like that anymore, man. That's why I don't run around with different kinds of women and all that. Like, nah, no lustful thinking and nothing like that. The longer you go without it, the more the less you think about it. After a while, you just be like, I'm good. After a while, it's like, I'm good. I'm not even looking for that. I'm not even trying to do that. I don't even want to do that. My spirit doesn't even want to do that. You know what I mean? I don't even want to get my body dirty with that. So, great story. I never read it the way I did today. I've always just heard bits and pieces of it, and other people explaining it and things like that. But reading it for myself today, instantly having a full understanding of what it was teaching, oh man, I understand the lesson. Like Lethal Shooter, I understand it now. I understand it now in its totality, in its full essence. I understand it now. So, to anyone that sees this, man, choose wisely. Choose wisely. Choose your woman wisely. Choose your man wisely. Choose wisely, man. Stay by yourself, do the work, and I believe that the Elohim will put the person for you in your way, but that person will be a test as well. That will be a test to see if you're really ready, see if you're ready to lead, see if you're ready to have that in your life. It's not just going to come to you and then you fall back into the same behaviors and then you end up, back at square one, right? That person is going to be a test as well. And you got to be ready. You got to be prepared, because there's somebody for everybody. That's a true saying. God has somebody ordained to you. You just don't know them, right? God has somebody ordained to everybody. You just don't know who they are, or you might know who they are. I don't really know how that works, but I do know that God has a partner for everybody. So a partner that he wants you to be with, right? A kingdom partner, a kingdom spouse. So again, choose wisely, but at the same time, don't choose at all. Just do the work. Search for the kingdom, search for God's face, search for God's heart, and let that be added to you. Let that find you, right? Because scripture also says that. Scripture says that if you search for my face, if you search for my heart, if you search for the kingdom, everything else will be added onto you. Your peace, your spouse, everything, your finances, everything else will just be added onto you. The thing is, you don't search for those things. You just search for God first, and then in your journey, it'll just come to you. So, yeah, I spoke longer than I thought I would, but that's what it is, right? That's how the message came out. So, stay in prayer, stay moving forward, stay reading, stay studying, and just keep being the best at being you. You know what I'm saying? Always just be you. No matter what anybody says, just be you. So I'm out.